Hi, Renee. Opening the meeting. This is the Town of Sheffield Select Board meeting for January 4th, 2021. First of all, let me introduce the members of the Select Board and administrative team who are on the call tonight. We have Martin Mitzoff.
Andrea Scott.
Hey, Andrea. We have Bob Kilmer, and we have Renee Wood as the Select Board team. We also have Rhonda Lombard as our town administrator, and Jill Hughes, who is the assistant to the town administrator. This meeting is being recorded by CTSV. Thank you again for that. And others may do so upon notifying the chair. With that, we'll start the meeting, and our first agenda item is the approval of minutes. I'm just going to quickly read these. We have executive session from 11:16, 12:07 meeting, 12:08 working meeting, 12:10 working meeting, 12:21 working meeting, 12:21 regular meeting, 12:22 working meeting, 12:28 executive session, 2 sets, and of course those are all from 2020. Is there a motion regarding the minutes?
This is Martin. I make a motion to approve the minutes as you've read them.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on all of those minutes. Is there any further discussion? Roll call. Yes, Bob. Go ahead.
I do have. I thought we were going to revise a 11:24 general bylaws meeting set of minutes.
I don't see that on our list, so let's make a note of that, okay? And let us go ahead and defer that to our next meeting. It's been noted. Was that, Bob, was that a general bylaw?
It was.
Okay, so let's have you do this. Do you have a copy of those minutes?
In front of me?
No. I'm just wondering if you have access to them, because what I would ask you to do is to make the change that you're proposing and forward it to Rhonda, and then we can put it on our next meeting agenda when everyone has had a chance to review it. Are we good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the minutes that we've just discussed for approval? If not, let's do a roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. The next item is a discussion regarding the creation of minutes, and there's a follow item, which is the discussion and possible action regarding fees for responding to public records requests. I'm going to turn this over to Rhonda to lead the discussion.
Sure. So on number 2, the creation of the minutes, the board has had a discussion regarding some of the wording in the minutes, and it was agreed upon that they would expand upon the discussion. If it says discussion ensued, they would put a little bit more information or not have the statement discussion ensued. And it's our hope that it'll be clearer to people what direction the discussion went in. On number 3, we also talked about the fee for responding to public records requests. So the board, I believe, would like to talk about whether we charge for every copy that we make and for time when we have to do research, not just for copying or sending out minutes, especially if we can send them electronically, which of course is the preferred way to do it. But if someone wants a copy, we will charge for the copies of the minutes, the number of pieces of paper by 5 cents. And if we have to provide any other documents along with the minutes, then we'll charge for the time to research and copy, find those documents.
Which we are allowed to do by law.
We are. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there, board members, is there discussion on this? Any clarification?
This is Martin. I'm in a wholehearted agreement with the need to offset the costs to our staff at Town Hall with regard to the numerous requests for information, particularly by some that actually do participate in many of these calls. Having direct experience over the last year and a half, going into town hall and seeing Jill and Rhonda and Phyllis and others responding to these requests for information, sometimes even duplicative requests for information, it takes up a tremendous amount of their time. And that time, in my opinion, as a member of the select board, takes away from the administration of the town and doing the jobs that need to be done in support of our town and our citizens. So I am wholeheartedly in favor of assessing individuals for the time that it takes for requests for that information.
And we are limited by law in terms of the charge that can be made. Rhonda, help me here, but I'm seeming
Sure.
to remember that it is based on the person's hourly rate who is doing that. Is that correct?
It is the lowest paid person who can do the work. It's their hourly rate. So
Okay.
if someone can do it rather than like a department head, a clerk or something, that's whose salary it would be assessed at.
Okay, great. Bob, do you have any comments?
No, I'm good with it.
Okay, so are we looking for a motion on this? Beginning. I'm sorry, Rhonda. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think we also still have some questions outstanding that everyone hasn't seen yet from town council regarding this issue. So before you make a motion, maybe we should put this back on another agenda to discuss town council's opinion and his guidance with making sure that we get it exactly correct.
Okay, let's do that. There has been a fair amount of time spent conversing with town council on these issues. So with the board's approval, let's defer this to either the meeting that we're going to be having. I believe it's on the 19th because of the holiday. The 19th will be our next meeting, and we'll take it up at that point. Is that okay with the board members?
I'm good with that. Would you like a motion?
No, let's wait. Okay.
No, I'm in a motion to table this to another discussion.
I don't think that's necessary.
No, I think we're good on that, but thank you anyway. Bob, are you okay with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So we started the discussion. We know where we think we're going on this. We have some things to still work out with town council, and then we'll pick this up again on the 19th. All right, let's go to our next item, which is discussion possible action regarding a funding request from the Sheffield Association. Martin, even though I have filed a disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest 23B3 form, and will be participating in this discussion as I have talked with the Ethics Council after the last meeting. You started chairing this item, and so if you would like to continue to do so, that is fine with me. Would you like to do that?
Bonnie Silvers.
Yeah, this is Martin. Yes, I'm comfortable with doing that.
Okay, so it's your item.
Okay. So in our last public meeting of the select board, there was discussion. We did hear from representatives from the Sheffield Association regarding the additional costs that the Sheffield Association has incurred with regard to publishing extra copies of some recent editions of the Sheffield Times, and that cost was outlined for us in the prior meeting, amounting to, I think, a total from last year of roughly $3,500 and possibility of funding for the coming year, totaling around $7,500. I don't recall what the exact numbers are. we decided to table that discussion to tonight's meeting. So I'm interested to hear from my fellow select board members what their thoughts are, and if there is a motion to take action one way or another, again, would like to hear that.
Martin, did you find out, I think one of the outstanding issues from the last meeting was to find out if this was covered under the CARES Act, or was that determined?
I have not determined whether it's covered under the CARES Act.
So I talked with Brendan, and it is not a covered expense under CARES, unfortunately.
And Brendan is the state representative who deals with the federal government, if I remember this correctly, regarding all of this CARES and federal money. Is that correct, Rhonda?
That's correct.
Okay.
Someone's having some awful background noise.
It just stopped.
Yes, it did.
Bob, do you want to go
You there?
first, or do you want me to give you my opinion on the board, my opinion on this, since I'm back in the discussion?
I only have your opinion on this.
Okay. I am not for this. One, it is not covered by the CARES Act, so it would be a town expense. But more importantly, this was a business decision that was made by the Sheffield Association. And while I support them as a private residence, I do not believe that town money should be spent on private organizations, especially after the fact, as well as to going forward to provide a service as important as it is to our town residents. I personally don't believe that I have received the letter that was mentioned in the last meeting asking for donations. Both Dennis and I went over this, and we haven't seen a letter in several months. So I'm not quite sure about that. But the main thing is this was an nonprofits organization decision, and I don't know where we would draw the line. I would respectfully submit that if the group has not gone to the Sheffield Cultural Council, that is where consistently the town uses the money that it gets from the state, as well as our cultural council has been very assertive in asking for private donations, and they have raised a fair amount of money. I think that's the avenue in our town that nonprofits go to ask for funding for items like this. I don't believe it's the select board to come out of general funds. So I will vote no against this if a motion comes up.
May I correct a couple of things that you said, or illuminate a couple of things that you said? This is Andrea. Scott.
I think we're still in deliberation and discussion as it relates to a possible motion, Andrea.
Okay, so there were some errors there.
Bob, do you have anything that you want to add?
Not really. I still believe that it would be a good expenditure of town funds, giving the benefit to the town from the Sheffield Times. I don't believe this is something that would be continual or reoccurring. It was pretty much because of some unusual circumstances due to COVID that it was handled in this manner. But I do believe I would vote for it under unusual circumstances.
All right. Do I have a motion either way for further discussion?
Will make a motion that we fund the amount of money, and I don't remember the exact amount that they have expended so far. I would not include any future expenditures.
Okay. Do I have a second? With no second, that motion fails. Renee, if you want to propose anything else, or
No.
okay. Okay. So
Just as a point of information, the Sheffield Association has applied to the Cultural Council, and Renee, the letter you might not have received due to, for a couple of reasons. One is if you and Dennis donated money in the last few months of 2020, we don't send people letters if they have recently donated. And also there's like the post office situation, which is not perfect. We have tried to get, and we've been running appeals in the Sheffield Times for the last several issues.
That does not change anything that I said, Andrea.
Right.
Okay,
And
was
Mrs.
referring
Martin,
you to the
I
cultural.
concur with everything that Renee has said about the matter.
I was referring you to the Cultural Council in case you had not gone there. Okay, and I do not know whether they accept requests during the year. I'm not on the Cultural Council, so I do not know how that works. But I still stand by what I said. Okay, so
Right.
shall we move on?
Yeah, I'll turn the chair back over to you, Renee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do want to say that on regard to this last matter, I do not think this in the board's action in any way is meant to denigrate or to diminish the importance of the Sheffield Times. I think all three members laid out their position, and this motion died for lack of a second. So let's go to the update on land to construct a highway garage. I know that the board has been very actively working on this, and I'm going to ask everybody to contribute on this. The thing that I just wanted to do was, one, keep the town abreast of what we are doing. And what we are doing is that we did not go forward with the proposal that we received on the request for proposals for land. The piece of property that was proposed is an excellent piece of property. It's in an extremely good location. It is being sold as business and land, so the value was considerably higher than what the board felt would be adequate for land. So we have thanked the person who responded to our request for proposals, and we have now moved back again to looking at town property with a focus on the 20 acres that are there on Berkshire School Road across from the school. And we're doing some work on that now, and we're continuing to look at some other properties. So that's kind of an update from my point of view. And Bob, Martin, Rhonda, would any of you like to add more?
No, that pretty much sums it up for me.
And for me also. Thank you, Renee.
And I want to thank Bob. I'm sorry, go ahead, Rhonda.
I was just going to say thank you. I agree. I think you did a great job.
Okay, I want to thank Bob for having us circle back to town lands. So thank you, Bob. I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate your participation on the Highway Garage Committee. All right, next item is discussion and possible action regarding textile recycling reuse. And in our packets, I'm kind of wearing my Sheffield Recycling Coordinator hat at this moment. But one of the things that the board looked at, I guess maybe its last meeting or so, was a letter similar to this to try and see if there was interest among South County municipalities to look at a food waste group program. This one focuses, this letter, you'll notice it's very similar, focuses on a proposed textile recycling reuse program. I have two vendors who actually are doing work in Connecticut and in the East who are looking to come west to Berkshire County and start working on textile recycling reuse. We see bins scattered around town. But they are looking for a critical mass to be able to support picking this up. The textile reuse recycling is a little bit different than food waste in that the vendors that I have spoken with so far do not charge to pick up. They do not charge to put the bins in place. But they still are looking to try and make it so that there is a route that will, in a sense, pay for their gas and the rest of it. So this is just a letter that would go out to the same 15 municipalities, asking them if they are interested in this. The second page of this letter basically is for information that shows what happens to recycle collected clothing. And this is kind of a composite that has been taken off one or two of the vendors' websites that I have been talking with. So this is information gathering. I do know, and in contrast to food waste, that DEP is focused and has in their 2030 waste reduction plan, and there's been discussion of doing it this fiscal year, how that will be, this fiscal year, how that will be impacted by COVID, I don't know, of making it so that textiles would be banned from the waste stream, the same way that certain plastics and all the rest of the stuff that we can't throw in the garbage. So with that, I just wanted to present this draft letter. It's open for changes, but I would, et cetera, but I would like to have permission as a recycling coordinator to send this out to the 15 towns and see if there's any interest.
This is Martin. I'll make a motion that we ask you to continue your work with the textile recycling reuse program, which includes sending out letters to our 15 surrounding municipalities to gauge their interest in undertaking such a program as drafted.
I'll second.
Any changes to the letter?
I've gone through it a number of times, and I don't have any recommended changes myself.
Looks fine to me.
Thank you for doing that.
I usually make at least 3 mistakes, so thank you. All right. So we have a motion in a second. Is there any further discussion on this?
No.
I would, of course, not go forward with anything without coming back to the board. This is information gathering only. Okay. With that, let's do a roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain on this. Thank you very much, board.
Thank you, Renee.
The next item we have is a COVID-19 update. Martin, this is yours.
There was, regarding parking on East Street, another item before that?
Yes.
I didn't, you're right. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so discussion possible action regarding parking on East Street. Thank you, Martin. And Rhonda, would you explain this?
I will. So it's East Road. It's off of County Road, Maple Avenue, up in that area. So that's one where the bridge is out, and we have closed it. And so what is happening is the people who live at the end are using that whole area for a parking area, which is making it difficult for delivery trucks to get down there or for people turning around or backing in or out of driveways. And so I had a concerned resident give me a call. I talked with the chief about it, and he's had some issues there as well with people across the street not being able to get their deliveries, oil deliveries, etc. So he thought that maybe a letter to the people who own the last house on the street from the Board of Selectmen asking them to remember that it is a public way and not a private parking area for their vehicles.
This is Martin. I'm certainly in favor of that. In fact, I was out there last week taking photographs of dry hydrants throughout town. I had to back up almost a quarter of a mile when I drove down to the bridge, where the closed bridge, to be able to take my photographs. And with the ice and snow, it was difficult for me. I wasn't making any deliveries, but I think just as an important point, if there were to be a structure fire or an emergency, bringing emergency vehicles in and getting them situated would be most difficult. So I support a letter to those owners to ask them to kindly not park on the street.
I'm taking that to motion.
That's a motion.
I'll second
Is
it.
there, okay, let's have some discussion. If this is not adhered to, I'm thinking that the board would probably take further action. Rhonda, do we have the ability as the board to put no parking signs?
Yes, absolutely, we do. And certainly Chief Munson would be there to assist us with any additional help if it didn't happen the way we've asked.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not proposing that at this moment. All right, so is there any other discussion on the motion and second?
No.
Let's do a roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. Rhonda, do you want one of us to write that letter, or would you like to write it?
I can write it.
Okay, thank you. Could we also have just an attachment to the motion and second that we authorize our town administrator to sign it?
Indeed. Yes. So moved.
Bob, are you okay with changing your second?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, I think we voted on that, so let's move now to COVID-19 update. Martin.
Okay, thank you. We're still filtering, I guess, the results from the kind of the 2 week or 2 weekend holidays between, the Christmas time and New Year's as well. But the numbers have been rising across the Commonwealth. Berkshire County, in particular, South Berkshire County, remains relatively stable as it relates to the number of COVID positive patients. In fact, Sheffield at this stage just has one person in isolation at home. I don't know what the status is of any members of the public quarantining at home. And also, our positivity rate for the town is among the lowest in the western region of Massachusetts. We're at about a 1.6% positivity rate per 100,000 people tested. As an example, Pittsfield is almost double that. Great Barrington also has relatively low numbers, and of course some of the smaller towns surrounding us, zero or non-reportable numbers in total. So I was not able to get the latest update today. There were some problems with the mass.gov website where daily updates are provided and they're available to the public. I did read in the Boston Globe that as of the last 24-hour period, we had about 4,500 cases, new positive cases reported in the system. The average over the last few weeks prior to, or including the Thanksgiving weekend, holiday, and so forth, those are still relatively large numbers. And again, we're I think everybody that I know of and everybody that I come into contact with and speak with, particularly in Sheffield, we've gotten a lot of cooperation and people are taking good precautions and trying to go by what we're all suffering from in terms of, seeing this virus through to its logical conclusion. The only other thing I wanted to add was that there are scheduled dates now for our first responders. Those include members of our police department, members of our fire department, and other emergency medical services to be held starting January the 13th. And I've sent information to both of our chiefs to let their folks know that they need to register for that. And I gave some of the protocols for doing so. And what I'm hearing now that as far as first responders getting the vaccination, it tends to be averaging about 75% of those that can avail themselves of the vaccine. About 75% of the people are saying, yes, we're going to go ahead and get it. There are others who are saying, no, we're going to wait. There are others perhaps that have concerns about the efficacy of the vaccine. And in all cases, wherever any of us may be asked for a recommendation, either from the Board of Health or from the police chief or the fire chief or, the head of the ambulance squad, the strongest recommendation we can give is if you have any doubts or you have any concerns, please first check with your primary care provider. But the Sheffield Board of Health, for example, will not provide recommendations to anyone to get the vaccine. I think we all know what we need to do, but it's a very individual choice. And the first place I would go personally would be to talk with my doctor and say, is this right for me? And based upon the input of a medical expert, then help form your decision and decide when the vaccines become available, what you choose to do. As it relates to the rest of the rollout of the vaccine, there is relatively detailed information on the mass.gov website. It's very easy to page to the subsection where, when can I get the COVID-19 vaccine? Again, for the majority of our population here, we've got to wait to phase 2 and phase 3. But the vaccine is being rolled out. I can't remember the number from today's press conference with Governor Baker, but I know that the number of individuals getting the vaccine in the first phase, which again was primarily healthcare workers, frontline workers, long-term care facilities, congregate care facilities, and so forth. The numbers are increasing by a large margin every day. We're in the hundreds of thousands of vaccines disseminated now. And again, that's the first jab that one gets. For some reason, some doctors and others are saying, let's not call it a shot, let's call it a jab. And then 4 weeks later, you get your second jab. And it's working. It's taken a lot of effort, but it's working. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have, but we're seeing results, we're seeing success, and it's been a long time in coming. So again, thank you everybody for your patience.
Are there any questions for Martin on the COVID-19 issues? All right, thank you, Martin. You've always been giving us such a good update, so we appreciate that. All right, board items. Martin, let's start with you.
Well, again, we've started our new year, but I want to thank everybody for being with all of us and working as a team to try to overcome this virus and to try to maintain it and contain it as much as possible. I appreciate all the residents and all of my board members and our town administration and our police and fire and highway and senior center workers that are all working together to do the best we can. I think we've done a remarkable job, so thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nothing else for me, thank you.
Okay, Bob.
I just wish everybody a happy new year.
All right, well, anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, so I join in Bob's Happy New Year greetings, and I join in Martin's thanking everyone at the town, our employees, our volunteers, and our residents for helping us all make it through 2020. And hopefully Sheffield has just done such an excellent job, and hopefully we'll continue to see that in 2021. I also wanted to review, since I frequently announce grants that we have received in town, I do want to just let you know that we did not receive the Mass Office of Disability grant that we applied for the police ramp in the back of the police station. We didn't get that. We should see, maybe this week we're short some wires, literally. We should be seeing the flashing crossing beacons in the center of town at the 3 crosswalks being activated soon. The manufacturer just didn't send the right wires, so that's being worked on. But again, that was a grant, and so far we've gotten very good comments from people on that. The other thing is kind of a personal note. I just wanted to I'd already let my colleagues in Rhonda know this, but I just wanted to formally announce that I will be seeking another term on the Select Board this May. So rather than waiting until April to say, I'm announcing my candidacy today. So, all right, Rhonda, Town Administrator items?
I just have the schedule change that our next meeting will be on Tuesday, January 19th, in observance of the holiday on Monday the 18th. So it will be Tuesday the 19th at 7 p.m.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, public comment?
I have a question. Bonnie Silvers, 15 Bow Wow Road. I wonder if you have any updates at all in terms of the transfer station and getting the 3 parts of the system to work again. I think we are, from what I see, throwing out more than our wonderful conservation conscious Sheffield normally do, as we're directed to put all of the garbage either in a recycling bin or the paper bin, etc. So I don't know if you have an update on that.
Okay, Rhonda, do you want to go first on the compactor?
Sure. So we should have the parts in and the work done, we're hoping, by mid-January.
There's been a problem with the compactor being broken.
Correct.
Okay, so we just talked about that literally today in Rhonda's office. So we're looking mid-January. The other thing you might have been talking about is we were hoping for a bulky, rigid, bulky plastic container, like is there now for the bulky waste on an ongoing basis. And the state hasn't released the grant awards on that program, so we're just kind of continuing to sit and wait. Does that answer your question, Bonnie?
I think to a great extent, it just seems each day there are different rules, and I don't know whether something can be consistently done until the system is working again, so that we have a sense that paper is being handled correctly and that recyclables are handled correctly.
Rhonda,
Bonnie,
do
this is
you
Martin.
want to take this off?
Renee, I have a
I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead, Martin. Go ahead,
Bonnie,
Martin. I'm sorry.
when you refer to the rules seeming to change every day, I don't understand. How do you mean?
What happens is I'll go at one point, and where you normally throw the trash, obviously, is closed, but that there are days when I'm told just leave all of it, meaning the garbage, in an area, and also that the normal recyclables that are the Kiwanis redeemables, sometimes they're being handled, sometimes they're being just dumped.
Yeah.
So I don't know with what's going on now. I totally understand, and I was told that there was a part that had to be replaced, but I would love that there would be a consistent pattern that would allow us to still recycle whatever we can and still preserve whatever can be done of the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I understand,
So,
and thank you. I understand from talking with Frank and Rhonda and members of the highway department as it relates to the garbage, that sometimes the reason that a resident may be asked not to put the garbage into, unfortunately, what is now, or what we're all commonly acquainted with as the paper or box recycling bin, The reason for not putting it in there on certain days is that the capacity has been reached with regard to the garbage in one of the large containers that are trucked away.
Ah.
Kind of a temporary measure to say, look, we can't put any more in there right now, but as soon as we get that container taken away, people can start putting their garbage in that, again, in that what is now known as, or what was formerly known as the recycling container. It's just a stopgap measure because we're nearing capacities.
Okay. I just don't want us to wind up getting into a very sloppy, that people don't respect, which has been quite a good system in our town.
Yes, I know, and I think we all appreciate that, and we certainly agree with you on that. I think the team there has been doing an outstanding job with the trash compactor having broken, and for the time that it's taken for us to be able to get the replacement parts. Essentially, just so everybody knows, we're replacing what I would call the innards of the trash compactor, and it's a hydraulic system that compresses the waste, as we all know. It's an aged machine, if you will. It's not the most easily replaced innards, again, that one can think of. But I think we've done a good job of locating the supplier, making the order, and we are on schedule to get that done sometime in January. So life should return to normal at the transfer station. I'm hoping within the next few weeks to months.
May I just suggest one thing? Not that you all don't have loads of work already, but maybe posting a note on the Sheffield website, because I don't expect the people at the transfer station to be explaining all of this, but a sense of the town being on top of it, and I think it might be reassuring.
I think that's a great idea. Why don't I give you a call, Bonnie, or Martin, or Bob, whoever wants to take this.
I'll take it.
Okay, let's have you call Bonnie and get the gist. My understanding was that the Kiwanis is not taking any recyclables anymore. Okay,
right.
So that one, we need to get that one clarified. And Martin, let's go for an email blast, which can then be posted on the website. Okay?
Great. Thank you so much.
And let's try and get that done first part of this week if possible. Thank you, Bonnie. Okay. Other public comments? Please just identify yourself, where you live, and then I know we're not on Zoom, so who's next, if anyone?
Catherine Miller, 801 Clayton Road.
Hi,
Question. Hi there. I just was curious to know if there's been any consideration given to what's going to happen to tax monies that come in from the cannabis operations in this community, and if you're taking any public input.
I think what I could answer is that we're trying to get resolved, first of all, the monies that came in last year, because we get both grower fees, which don't hit the state books, and we get the 3% sales from the pass, which comes back to us from the state. So we're trying to get the reading, which I think we should have in the next couple of weeks, on the cannabis income from 2020. And then at least it was my plan to discuss with the board, putting this as an agenda item and getting public input and seeing what comes up. We really haven't discussed this per se, so we're kind of starting that discussion now. It will be a future item on an agenda.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine.
Hi, this is Lauren Hyde. I live at 535 Polycoff Road in Ashley Falls. My comment actually segues from Catherine's. So earlier this evening, I got off a call regarding a community outreach meeting proposing an outdoor cannabis cultivation on Polycoff Road. The meeting was attended by 43 different participants with concerned neighbors, citing that the citizens are rather concerned about the residential neighborhood, and most importantly, the water usage. Ashley Falls residents are always worried about their wells. This is going to be a 2-acre farm, and the plan is to use 2,000 gallons of water a day in the middle of a residential neighborhood. I also recently found out that this is one of 2 proposed locations on Polycoff Road where there might be an outdoor cultivation for cannabis. At one point, the farmer that we were talking to tonight when I asked him how much money he thought it was going to gross for wholesale, he thought $10 million. Later, I questioned him about security and how he's going to secure $10 million worth of asset and protect it. And he mentioned, maybe it's more like $1 million. So 3% of $1 million is $30,000, not $300,000, as he originally had stated. I myself have many concerns, as do my neighbors. We never wanted this on our street with our children learning to ride their bikes. It's a very heavily trafficked area with foot traffic. Our neighbors are out running, getting exercises. It's a nice neighborhood full of families, young families. And now we're facing 2 fights, not just one. And we're all rather concerned about our wells, security, and of course the environmental factors that come with an outdoor cannabis cultivation, smell, etc. We just wanted to make sure that the select board understands the impact that these proposed cannabis farms are having on our tight-knit neighborhoods that are filled with families. So the money that's earned, I would say it would be great if it went into a fund to pay for people's wells if they run dry from 2,000 gallons of water usage a day.
Thank you for your comments, Lauren. I know that we'll look forward to hearing more from you when we do have that discussion. Okay.
Thank you.
So the agenda is posted on the town's website, as you know. So we'll look forward to hearing from you again. I was on that almost 2-hour call. I think it was 2-hour call tonight also. So I heard everything that was said by everyone who spoke. I heard all of it. So thank you for
Thank
your
you
comments.
for being honest.
Excuse me,
anyone
Renee,
else?
what was the last name of that young woman, please?
Hyde, Hyde, I believe.
Yep, that's
Thank
my
you.
last
And
name,
her address?
Hyde.
And what's your address, please?
What'd you say, Catherine?
Well, what's your address?
535.
Lauren,
Okay, I want to connect with you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you all do that outside of this meeting, okay?
right.
So are there any other public comments? Okay, so thank you all for joining us tonight. Remember, our next meeting will be on the 19th. Let's just double check that. As Rhonda said, because of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so 7 p.m. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those, let's do a roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Thanks, everybody.